you want to have freedom to maneuver.
Right.
So that's something that I've definitely wanted to look towards. But I have to like, balance that out with, I do like health and fitness. I like helping people. So it's kind of just figuring out how I can balance these two things where I can have this freedom, but I can also pursue this thing that I really enjoy. And again, like I said, I'm in a fluctuation stage right now as well, where I'm actually starting to break into like the tech world, and that'll open up opportunities for me to do more remote based work where I'm not holding to one location. Ideally, eventually, what I can do is maybe merge the tech and the fitness and do something.
What the is we doing?
All right, so I think, well, we're like 2 months since the last one.
I believe so. Yeah, it might be 2 months now.
Gotcha. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. Another hiatus once again, not because, I mean, it's because we're busy. We're just doing stuff at this point, so it is what it is. Again, these chats are just to catch up more than anything else. Um, but yeah, so I
You know,
guess just to kick us off, because go ahead.
you know what's crazy? We do have a pod that we didn't post. I don't know if you
Hmm.
remember. And we still have that. I just recalled now. We can always
Yeah,
up that at some point. But
that's all right. Whatever. How do you let's see, where can we take this right now? Because right now we're in a pretty interesting position. You're still in the process of kind of finding just a sense of remote work, right? That's where you're at, trying to, you're in Ecuador right now, so you're just trying to figure that out. I'm in a big transition phase right now, as you know, um, potentially like just switching careers altogether or just switching where I work, just like the company that I work for and the organization.
Mhm.
So a lot of moving pieces, right? So at this stage, it's interesting, right? Because we're like, this is the at least in our lives, this is the time where we're supposed to experiment, right? In our 20s, where we just try
Right and
as
fail.
many things as possible, right? We're just trying to see what works for us and see ultimately what's going to be, I wouldn't say our purpose in life, but just the thing that we're going to really focus on for the next couple of years or not decade or 2 decades. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting stage of life, at least for me, and I think for yourself as well, right? We're just trying to discover what it is that we're wanting to do. Um, I don't know.
Mm.
Where do you think you see yourself in the next like couple of months, if not maybe 2 or 3 years from now?
Right. So it's interesting to be where we are. We both 25 years old. And we when we met,
Oh, one thing I should add, we don't really have that many responsibilities.
that's
Um,
that's true.
right, because a lot of times, especially people our age, they can get caught up in a lot of responsibilities, whether that's like needing to take care of a family,
Mm.
like their personal family, or if they start a new family.
Kids.
We're in a particular stage where we're not really responsible for anyone other than ourselves. So we have a lot of freedom. Um, we have
Well,
a lot of experience and knowledge. But go ahead.
you are in a committed relationship, so you do have the responsibility with your partner. Whereas I'm in a
Yeah.
complete opposite kind of type of a spectrum because I don't. I'm single and ready to mingle. No, just kidding. But no. Okay, so the point, kind of like just listening to you, is that we are at a kind of like very special time since we are 25 years old. I think looking back when I started college, I knew exactly where I wanted to be at my stage right now, honestly. Like, like a stable
Are you
job.
there?
I think I was there, but then
Mm,
I felt like I accomplished it, and then I was like, what is next? And I
right.
think traveling helped me realize that life isn't much about the material things and that you don't need much to survive, but then you also need to balance that the future. You cannot only live in the present. Like it's nice, I think it's important to live in the now and in the present and be present where you are right now and be
Mm,
grateful for what you have, but without that drive and ambition, that I know we both have, it's hard to keep one, at just one place. And I think that's where I am right now.
Yeah,
I
I would
was,
say it's difficult to be just content
yeah,
with just like kind of what we're doing.
Mhm.
Like I can tell you specifically from my experience and my example right now, one of the things that's motivating me to change what I'm doing is that I just feel like I've kind of reached this peak and I'm up for like the next challenge. I'm looking for what's next, right? Because I don't feel satisfied doing the same thing over and over again. Like more often, I'm finding myself bored of the day to day of my work specifically. It's just like I feel like I've kind of accomplished what I've wanted to set out to do for myself. Like I've proved to myself and to others that I'm capable of doing what needs to be done. So at this point, it's like, okay, now that you know what you're capable of, what's next? And that's kind of where I'm really going towards. Like I want to find the next thing so I can really start getting to the next stage of where I want to be in life, right? So I know one of the big driving forces for me was finding some form of work that gives me autonomy with just like environment. Like I don't want to be settled to one place. Like kind of like what you're going for, right? You don't want to be stuck working in one location or just going to one workplace, right? Like you want to be able to travel, you want to be able to move, you want to have freedom to maneuver.
Right.
So that's something that I've definitely wanted to look towards. But I have to like, balance that out with, I do like health and fitness. I like helping people. So it's kind of just figuring out how I can balance these two things where I can have this freedom, but I can also pursue this thing that I really enjoy. And again, like I said, I'm in a fluctuation stage right now as well, where I'm actually starting to break into like the tech world, and that'll open up opportunities for me to do more remote based work where I'm not holding to one location. Ideally, eventually, what I can do is maybe merge the tech and the fitness and do something where I can be remote and also do fitness as well. But again, at this stage of the game, I'm not 100% sure what that's going to look like. So I'm just going to kind of follow the path that's already been laid out and eventually make a pivot when I feel like that's a necessary thing to do.
Right. Yeah, the one thing also is that we live in especially in the States, we live in an everlasting changing world where yesterday crypto was a huge thing and today AI is the new thing. And, also we need to adapt on that end. And for me, on a personal level, I always wanted to be an engineer in the fintech industry, and I reached to the level. And then I got to a point where I knew exactly where I was going to go. And for me, it was, staying in corporate world for many years and just working my ass in that. If I didn't get laid off, or just also another factor in my life that happened this year, or this year looking back, is that I broke up with my girlfriend. If I didn't have those two things, those events happening in my life, I would have never had the opportunity ever to actually go backpacking, solo backpacking in Southeast Asia. And I think that was a huge thing for me this year. It was that it opened up the door that I probably saw already closed. I probably felt like I will never probably was gonna get a chance to do it if I continue on the path as a software engineer. I probably could have gone on vacation to Southeast Asia, but I had never taken like 2, 3, 4 months to actually go as a backpacker and experience the lifestyle. So I think that's one thing for me that opened my eyes. That's why I still now I'm more sure that I want a remote job or just a thing on my own that I'm building that I can always look back, rely on and keep traveling, as well as saving to build what I'm trying to build in the future. So I think for me, it was important to give myself the opportunity to live the today without looking focus of the big picture of what I want as, my project of life. Now, one big questions that I have gotten a lot by family, friends, and just like on my Instagram is that how did I do it? Just because like within my community, especially like Ecuadorians, I was probably the first Ecuadorian that a lot of the people that I met traveling, they met. So I was probably the first Ecuadorian they knew of. They knew what Ecuador was or where Ecuador was, but they didn't know how an Ecuadorian looked like. And I was that first one. So a lot of the people here in Ecuador, they have asked me that, like, oh, how do you do it? And I
Mhm.
think looking back the last 5 years of my life, since I started college or even before that, I think I was building up to be where I am right now. Like I'm comfortably, I am looking for like a remote job, but I'm not stressing about like, oh, I gotta look for a job. And probably that's a bad thing because I saw a quote, yeah, I saw a quote about like how if you have something stable, you're not pushing yourself to do your best in getting something else. And I think that's me right now. And I kind of like meditated on that I probably need to put a little more emphasis on if I actually want to get a job, then I should actually put my focus on that. But I'm also multitasking on something else over here. So
Mhm.
the important thing is that I think this past 5 years, well, I was in college, I was working, I was saving up, I was paying for college, but also I was investing. I think that kind of helped me. I'm not gonna lie, my salary as a software engineer back in New York and my um, severance package was also very generous. So I think that also allowed me to like keep traveling and also like,
Mhm.
survive. But
Mhm.
ultimately, I had processes in my life that I until today, I still get some money every month, and I don't have to stress that, oh, I need to pay bills. I have a car over here, so I need money for gas. I need money for food. I need money for a lot of other things. So I think preparing yourself, building up, and eventually having a goal. Even though I never thought I will use my safety net for traveling, I used it and it was completely worth it. So I think that's
Mhm.
kind of like that question that maybe we can answer today. I can kind of like walk you through how I did it and how I'm doing right now. What do you
Yeah,
think?
for sure. Let's go. And again, like one of the things with a safety net, is just having an opportunity, or if once you have an opportunity to actually have the funds to do something with it, right? Um, so I know for me specifically, right, with the injury that I had a couple of months ago with my back, right? So it was like two herniations in the lower back. Um, my safety net allowed me to kind of pay off the expenses of those medical bills. And luckily, I also, because I have a full-time job, as benefits, I had insurance, medical insurance that helped pay for a majority of it. So again, that's kind of just like I got lucky in that sense, but still, that's kind of the reason of having a safety net to begin with. When life circumstances just change on you, again, you got laid off, and then you had an opportunity to travel. You want to have options available to you. So again, for me, I use it for medical bills and kind of just keeping myself afloat. For you, you use it for traveling and experiencing something totally different that you wanted to experience, but most people never really get a chance. So yeah, like walk us through how that ended up going with you. Um, do you still have a safety net still available? Like, did you spend all your money? Do you still have something left? I know we're really big on investing and making sure that, financially we're making good decisions. We're always saving as much as we can. We're not just spending fruit, or we're always spending frugally, right? We're not just wasting money. So at this stage of the game, where are you? And how did you get there?
Right. So I think we have been very advocate about three factors in life. If first is yourself, like, your fitness. So I'm
Mhm.
still working out, I'm still eating healthy, just being in that healthy mindset. I think that's one thing. So I think we have been advocates on that. That's what in the past, we had that section about fitness to talk about that. That's one thing. The second one is, personal development, just kind of like building yourself as a man and just with good morals. And then the last one is finance. And I think one of the reasons I love those three topics is because I implement them in my life and I have been trying, like you say, tried and fail in every aspect on that. So finances is a huge thing for me. Always been interested on it, and I started building it since I was 18 years old, so since I was in high school. And I was invested. So every money that I earned, I never went out there, even though like I made six figures at some point of my life. I was not spending as, like my, how do you call that? Lifestyle inflation, something like that. that as my salary increased, I was not as spending as much as it increased. I kept it on the minimum on what I needed. Of course, I lived. I didn't deprive myself from a lot of things, especially food, because I love food. So that was one thing. So I think knowing and being aware on where you're spending is a huge thing, just because it allows you to create that safety net that is very important and that we talk about a lot. So I built it. I had it, ready to go for 6 months on like my daily lifestyle in New York. Now, when you move to a third world country that is not New York, you're gonna realize that the safety net probably is not just for 6 months on like New York standards, because your lifestyle expenses drop significantly. So while in Asia, I literally spent like a quarter or less than a quarter, including the flights, of my safety net. So that was pretty awesome. Europe actually kicked my ass because it's very expensive. But now in Ecuador, where it's kind of like the intermediator, not spending as much. So I still have some remainings of my safety net. Also, like I mentioned before, my severance package was very generous. So I actually invested the money somewhere else, where I'm getting some money back every month. And it's kind of like, it's always a secure thing. And eventually I'm getting the money back at some point. So that's also another thing that kind of keeps me going. So I'm not only relying on my safety net, but also on the dividends that my investment paid off. That's another thing. Now, the third source of income that I'm coming up right now is just kind of like freelancing my time for a few things. Teaching English or tutoring some kids over here. Also trying to get a contract. I think I mentioned this morning. I'm onboarding for like a freelance contract as a software engineer. Little things like that keep me busy, as well as also like keep in the mindset that I need to keep hustling. I tried being an affiliate marketer for Adidas. That didn't work out because they rejected me, but it's okay. I tried some kind of like what do you call it, affiliate marketing also for another product through Pinterest. I tried that as well. I'm trying that. There's no significant revenue coming up yet, but just a matter of patience. So I'm also like always seeking these little things and see how can I diversify my source of income. Eventually, I do want to go to corporate for the money, honestly. At this point, I'm being sincere, also for the experience, just because I came to realization that to build something, you eventually need capital unless you seek investors. And I don't want to be tied to investors. And that's something that I have learned from my family here in Ecuador, that when you build something of your own, you make the decisions 100%. So that's something that I want to do. I don't want to rely on investors or to have investors make decisions for me, So that's one thing. That's why I do want to go back to corporate for 5 years, just to build my experience and also the money that is there. But eventually, we don't know where we're gonna be here in the next year. That is 3 months from now. So that's how I did. I think on my position might be a little bit easier since I was living in New York. It's easier to invest. It's easier to have a job that pays for your time and just save up. And also I was living with my parents, which was a huge save on rent because I wasn't paying full price of rent. Actually, I think I paid more rent than you did on your apartment, I believe. So I paid my parents, but I didn't really care, to be honest, but I was helping my parents. But I think those little details I kind of take it for granted, just because a lot of people somewhere else in the world, they don't have the opportunity. They actually live paycheck by paycheck. So, like you mentioned before, if you have a family, if you have responsibility, that's a whole different story.
I mean, that can be like a conversation that we have as time progresses. No, because one of the things that you mentioned is that you felt like by having a partner you might be held back, or you might not have as much freedom. But I don't really feel like that. At least I've been fortunate enough to have a partner that doesn't make me feel like I'm tied down in any way. And again, at this stage, we're trying to actually build more freedom for ourselves. so that we can go out and explore and do more things. And ultimately, you know, once you find the right person, you'll be able to kind of do these things without feeling like you're held back. But again, that kind of just comes with time. You know, there is a little bit of luck involved. But you know, you get what you give in the world, is what I think. Right. So if you give good energy, if you give good vibes, and if you just ultimately try to be the best version of yourself and help others, that kind of comes back to you, right? And again, that goes back to like karma. We've had a conversation about that in the past. What you put out there in the world is kind of what you get, right? If you put negativity out there, that's what you get. If you put positivity out there, that's what you get. Kind of same goes for the people that you attract in your life, right? If you only do bad things or you only see the worst in people, you kind of just attract that. But if you see the good in people, if you try to do your best for others, eventually that'll come back to you as well. And then you'll start creating an environment, a network of people that you can trust, that you like hanging out with, that you like traveling with, right? Kind of like what we're doing here, just talking and basically the opposite sides of the world. You know, that's kind of just like the nature of how things go. You get what you get. But yeah, we are definitely in an interesting position. And I'm curious to see what the next couple of months are going to look like for us, just because, again, we are maneuvering in such a way where we're trying to do a lot of things, or at the very least, we're trying to advance forward in our lives. And again, we don't have that many responsibilities, so we can make a lot of big moves and not really have it affect us in a really negative way. So I'm really excited, a little anxious for the future. I'm definitely looking forward to the things that are going to come. And, you know, we'll continue to have these conversations along the journey to see how things progress. Again, that's kind of the whole point of having this platform for us. We just talk about where we're at in life and kind of how things are going. What are the pros? What are the cons? Again, we've talked about there's not really right and wrong. There's just consequences to your actions. So what happens if you do this thing? Right now, I'm going to pursue something that's completely unknown. I'm going to see what happens. Is it going to be a positive thing or a negative thing? Ultimately, we don't really know until we're on the other side of that. So only time will tell.
Absolutely. I think one thing is that at our age right now, we are able to risk failed and just start again. I think that's the beauty of our age, 25. Don't get me wrong, we are getting older by the time. Like I just look back.
My back is broken.
Already, not even 30, but yes. So it's quite an interesting age, honestly. I thought about it so many times because most of my friends here in Ecuador, they are already married or with kids. And then there I am. I don't feel bad for it, honestly. I feel good because like in America, that's very normalized now. But then I see where I am, what I experience, places I have been, and honestly, being single and traveling is pretty awesome. So I don't regret it. But I definitely felt sometimes that probably with a partner, I want to do it again, you know, because I have actually a friend they got married and they're actually traveling right now in Southeast Asia. And they're pretty much doing like the same kind of, because it's the same kind of path. You either take north to south or south to north, but you eventually go to the same places over there. So they're doing something similar. And I was like, oh, damn, it's pretty awesome to do it with a partner as well. So I definitely will redo the trip again, just to see how the experience is eventually. But you're right. I think I just gotta wait and see what comes and when it comes to partner wise, because I do want a partner that helps me and also is able to travel and likes to travel and likes to go to the mountains at 6 a.m. in the morning just to watch the sunrise, you know? So something like that. Like I'm more kind of like not really looking for it, to be honest. I'm just chilling. I gave myself actually this next 3 months to build myself on the things that I'm working on. I don't want to say this aloud, but I talked to you about something that I'm working on over here as well. So that working on the gym as well. So, you know, trying to be consistent. Oh, and that's something that it took me a while to understand this, but having a goal is important. Yes, But I think what's most important in kind of like building, like building yourself towards the goal is having processes where you're disciplined and you're consistent. I think being disciplined means, doing things even though you don't feel like doing, like going to the gym, like even like a cold morning over here or something that's super cold. And I'm just like, fuck, I don't want to go. And then it's like being disciplined. Okay, I need to go. Like I actually go, So being disciplined is doing things even though you don't want to do it. I think that helps you keep going, keep it going, keep the rhythm going, keep the work going. And now consistency, I feel like it helps you reach to the goal, reach to finishing things, You're consistent no matter what until you finish it. So I think those two aspects on your personal life, whatever it is, whether it's business, whether it's the gym, whether it is your relationships, whatever it is, I think I came to understanding that is crucial to build yourself as a person, as a man, as a human being. So
Yep.
that's for me. My 3 months is to work on those two aspects of my life, being disciplined and being consistent on the things that I have started. But what do you think?
Yeah, man, that's basically it, right? Again, I'm fortunate enough that I ended up turning like a hobby of mine into like an actual profession. So the exercise and stuff and being healthy and fit, that kind of just comes naturally. Not always, right? Again, I did get injured, even being a health professional, right? So it's not like, I know everything. But again, it's a process more than anything else. And at this point, I'm managing it. I understand how to navigate it. I know how not to aggravate it so I can show somebody else these things. And again, that just makes me a better professional, even though I have to put myself in a precarious situation. Yeah, man, in life, everything that is worth having just takes time. It takes time for you to build yourself, to build the right characteristics, understand what it is that you need to do, right? Build the right mindset, the right skill set. And ultimately, if you're persistent, if you're consistent, you're disciplined, eventually these things come to you. And it's not just like magic, right? Like one day everything kind of just like is figured out. It's just like you kept doing it over and over and over again, brick by brick, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. And eventually you'll look down or you look back and you're like, holy shit, I've built something amazing, or I've done incredible things, or I've had great experiences because I was willing to put in the work. And sometimes that's all it is, man. You just literally have to look forward and don't look back until you get to where you want to be. That's life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also I feel like destination changes no matter what. I feel like having a goal, yes, is important. It's good to have, but I don't think I now today I don't prioritize the goals that I have anymore. Like I said, each month I set 5 goals, and then each month I kind of like look back and kind of like gotta, how do you call that?
Reevaluate.
Reflect on the matters that I did. And time to time I see that I reach 2 out of the 3 goals just because it changes. I think each goal changes. Eventually you will achieve something different, and it was probably better than the goal that you set yourself for that month. At least that's for me. And also I start reading this book. Well, not reading, audio book, which is pretty awesome. I highly recommend it, honestly. It's called what is it? 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman.
This is on.
Really good book. This is out of book, but yeah. So that's like really good book. Kind of like just it kind of reminds me of Atomic Habits. I don't know if you have listened it or read it. It's similar to it, but it's kind of like how you can kind of like condense 4,000 weeks within 4 weeks of your life. So it's like but it all goes to the basics, discipline and consistency. So yeah, I think reading has been helpful. I need new books. That's the thing, like physical books, because other books are great, but for me, physical at night works much better. Otherwise, I just end up on Netflix.
Yeah.
To be
It helps
honest.
you sleep too if you read it late at night. Well, it depends on the type of book, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Anyways, mate, anything to add up, or your time is running out here?
Not really. I mean, again, we're just touching base. I don't know when we'll do the next one. Hopefully next week, but if not, whenever we catch
Maybe we
some
should
free
listen
time.
to her. Maybe we should listen to her own advice and be more consistent on it. For me, it's helpful. I don't know how you feel about it.
No, it is. It's definitely like a reflection point, right? We can like sit down, have conversations about the things that have been going on, and just getting some different perspective. Because oftentimes we get caught up in our minds. At least I know I do, kind of thinking about stuff when it's not really necessary, or realistically, what I need is a different opinion, not just hearing myself talk about the same thing over and over again.
Right.
So again, it's not a matter that like it's not a good thing to do. It's just a matter of time. Either
Yeah.
you're busy or I'm busy, or when we're free, something comes up.
For
But
sure.
ultimately, again, for us, it's just a matter of catching up and making sure that we're staying the course in terms of what we're trying to ultimately do, right? Just live a better life, reach our goals. Obviously, the goals, like you mentioned, they change over time. But again, the things that we are trying to achieve kind of stay the same, right? We want freedom. We want to be able to live a life that we enjoy, right? Ideally, have the right people around us so that we can enjoy life with them. And all we have left in the end is really experiences, right? So just making sure that we're maximizing the experiences that we have on the day to day. That's what I'm pursuing, right? I want to become better at the things that I do and that I enjoy, because that's all I have. All I have is the experiences, right? Like we don't take the money, we don't take the things, right? The material possessions. We're just left with the memories and the thoughts and the experiences. So that's what I'm chasing. I want to make sure that I'm doing the best that I can, so I can say that I have no regrets at the end of the day. And I think you're probably in the same boat. You don't want to have any regrets if we eventually get to the end, right? So that's it.
For
Let's
sure.
try to do this again next week.
Absolutely. I don't have anything to cheer on you on, but salud.
Cheers. This is actually alcohol.
Oh, is it? Nice. Cheers. This is a conversation between friends.
None of what is said here should be taken as legal advice.
We are not experts in any way.
Take what resonates and leave the rest.